What is up, guys, and welcome back to Dreams Gaming Boston Bruins franchise mode. This is Private Penne here. In the first episode, kind of looked through our roster, kind of evaluated where we were at, and looked at a couple of guys we tweaked a little bit, some of the challenges we might have with the roster and contracts, and so in this episode, we left off last episode with making a decision with the 7th defenseman, figuring out what to do with either Kevin Miller or Adam McQuaid. And the thing is, Brandon Carlo and Charlie McAvoy are the worst defensemen on our NHL roster at 81s overall, but they're both listed as a top 6 role, and we don't want to send either of those guys down to the AHL to play in a limited role. And we want to give those guys NHL ice time because they're young and they can develop and they got really good potential. But at the same time, we don't really want to send an 83 overall Adam McQuaid or an 82 overall Kevin Miller, who also they both have a few years left on a contract, and we don't want to be stuck with that salary cap if they're going to be AHL guys for us, and they're gonna regress in those roles. So what we're looking to do is do something with the 7th defenseman, either McQuaid or Miller, trade them away, or we'll look at that a little bit later. But first, we're gonna look at our lines. I fixed the lines up a little bit after the last video before this one, and so here's what we're looking at. Top line of Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak, same as the Bruins top line. Second line, Simon back as Krejci, so we're throwing Simon over there on the left wing, even though he's listed as a right wing, and he's also right-handed. The thing about this is I'm fine with that due to the fact that he is a sniper, and being right-handed on the left side, it's easier for those one-timers, and so I'm fine with that. We'll see how that works out. He's not great defensively, but Backes and Krejci are. So hopefully that line has some good chemistry and some good, they mesh together pretty well. Third line, Bolesky, Spooner, Stafford. This line, hopefully, Bolesky can stay at 83, maybe even pop up to an 84 overall, because we got him at 4 years, almost $4 million, so we don't want him to regress at all. And hopefully Spooner can develop a little bit more, maybe end up as an 85, 86 by the end of the year. Hopefully we can trade him, or even re-sign him and maybe throw him on the second line role, who knows. Bottom line, Nashmore and Hayes, just pretty much the leftovers from the roster. Looking at our defense, we got Chara and Krug. They're both left-handed, but they're easily the best 2 defensemen. Outside of Steinberg is also left-handed, so those 3 guys, I don't really want to throw them all on the left side, because then we'd have an 83 on our top line and an 85 on the bottom line. It's just not that balanced. So we're gonna have to stick with the offhand for both Krug and McQuaid. But the second line was Steinberg and McAvoy. Steinberg, pretty good defensive guy, and pairing him with McAvoy just because McAvoy, who's not terrible defensively, he's pretty average, but he's got the offensive stats and a little bit more offensive minded, listed as a 2A defender. So hopefully Steinberg can stay back for him a little bit. McAvoy can go up on offense and create some. Who knows what's going to happen there. And then Carlo and McQuaid, just the last 2 defensemen left, both are pretty good defensively. So hopefully we're not going to see much offensive production out of those 2 guys, but hopefully they're responsible and don't get scored on too much. And then we're going to look at the first power play unit. So we've loaded up this top line, this top unit, and if we're not performing too well on the power play, I might look to distribute some of this talent down to the second unit. Like you see, we got our first line here, and then on the points we got Krejci and Krug. And then for the second unit, we got Simon, Backes, Spooner, Stafford, and Chara on the points. So what I like to do on the power play is I like to throw the right-handed guys, you see over here on the left side, and the left-handed guys I like to put on the right side. It's what you see in the NHL. I don't know if that really affects the simulation much, but having those guys on their offsides, it's easier for them to make plays and one-timers, and they don't really have to worry about too many board battles or sealing off the boards with their normal hand or things like that. So that's something I do. I don't know if it affects the simulation at all, but I don't know. And then we're just going to flip through the rest of these lines. So like I talked about in the last video, this year is going to be really interesting for us in that we don't really know if we're going to be competitors, if we're going to be contending for a playoff spot, or if we're going to be pretty bad and going to have to tank. So I'm going to let the first few months of the season get to the sim a little bit, and then see where we are, see if we're going to have to make any moves to contend, or if we're going to trade away some of our aging guys. We got a few expiring UFA veterans that we can hopefully trade away and try to get some picks back or some prospects. So here's a look at the AHL line. The top prospect that we have in the AHL is Frank Vetrano. He's already an 80 overall. So the reason he's not in the lineup on the NHL roster is because that defensive category is pretty bad, and his offensive category isn't good enough to make up for it. So hopefully we see some growth out of him, and hopefully he can crack the third line maybe next year or the year after that. Who knows? Another guy to keep an eye on down here is going to be JFK down here on the third line, and then DeBrusque down there on the fourth line. Going to our defense. Kevin Miller is going to be on his way out very shortly. Hopefully Joe Morrow can do something down there, and then O'Gara and Grzelcyk are prospects, and Arneson and Johansson probably won't be seeing Boston Bruins time in this series. So now we're going to go make a trade away Kevin Miller, just because, like I said earlier, we don't have the spot on the Boston Bruins roster for him, and I don't want to let him rot with his contract in the AHL. So I went through, did a little bit of scouting, and the team I want to trade with is the Dallas Stars, and I will show you why. Let's go look at their defense. We're going to sort of hear about overall. They have Klingberg as an 88, Hamhuis as an 85 as their top two defensemen. Then they have four guys at either 80 or 81 overall. And they're listed as hopefuls, I believe. Let me check again. Yeah, they're listed as hopefuls. So they're going to be trying their best to fight for a playoff spot and fight to make the playoffs. So they could really use a guy like Kevin Miller. He's going to be their third best defenseman, and if they acquire Kevin Miller, they can send a guy like Julius Honka down to the AHL, get him some top 2 minutes down there, and hopefully he can develop some for him. But who knows? That's what the AI is going to actually do for the Stars. But I believe they would be interested in trading for a guy like Kevin Miller, and he's also listed on their skaters matching blocks. So we're going to go ahead and throw Kevin Miller in the trade. Looking at their roster, they didn't really have any guys that that sort of matched Kevin Miller's trade value that would be upgrades for us on the NHL level. Like we could probably trade for a guy like Cody Eakin, but the problem with him is his trade value is a little bit more than Kevin Miller as it stands, but he's also an 84 at age 25, so he's going to be that third line center. He's going to be Ryan Spooner, except he's listed as he's got 4-year contract and almost $4 million. So he's got a Matt Bolesky contract, and he's going to be stuck on the third line. Unless he were to have like a 1 or 2 point jump in his overall, but we're not going to really take a risk on that. So there's no one really there that we want to trade for, so we're going to start looking at their prospects, and one guy that I'd like to trade for is Roop Hintz. 73 overall already at age 19, medium top 6 forward, and the great thing about him, well, you can look at his offensive stats are almost NHL ready. He just needs help in that shooting category, but his defense is atrocious, so hopefully he can work on that a little bit. But the thing about Hintz is that he's not signed, so he's not going to count against us in the contract space. See, we're already at 50 of 50 contracts. He's not going to count against us, and we can let him. We don't have to sign him. We don't have to put him in the AHL. He's going to develop outside of the AHL. So we need a little bit more trade value. So we're going to go here to Skaters Match and Block. We're going to go way down here to Colton Hargrove. Thing with Colton Hargrove, 74 overall, age 24, high AHL top 6. He's never going to see ice time for us, but there's like the small chance that he might develop into something with the high AHL potential. So we don't need him. Dallas wants him, and we need a little bit more trade value. So we're going to go to a pick. What we're going to trade is the 2018 third round pick of ours. I'm trading this pick because third round pick 2018 is not going to be anything special. We're not going to get a guy that's any good. So if we can turn that into helping get a medium top 6 potential guy, I'm all for it. So that trade's going to go through. And what we're going to do now is I'll fix the lines and I'll show you guys what they look like, what the AHL lines look like after I do that. Alright, so we've gone through and we've fixed the AHL lines. We've thrown in another guy in offense and defense. That's not really a prospect, so it's irrelevant. I'm not going to go through and look at it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get into the simulation. And probably sound like a broken record, but once again, it's really going to depend on how we do in this first season as to what I'm going to do at the trade deadline. I'm going to go through about each month and evaluate where we are, how our record is, who's performing well, who's not, and how we are in the standings. And if we're not in the standings, if we're not doing well, if we're like a point a game around the All-Star break, I'll start to make some moves and kind of evaluate where we're at. And then if we're in a playoff spot around that time, I'm obviously going to potentially trade for some guys at the deadline that could help us out and win some games now. But we're gonna go ahead and sim down this first month and a half, and we'll see where we stand. Alright, so that first month and a half was not good. We went 8, 13, and 12. We had a couple bright spots. If you can see right here, second week in November we won 3 straight, but then after that streak of 3 straight, we lost 6 straight in regulation, and we lost in regulation 8 of our last 9. So we're not doing too hot. I'm not abandoning this team just yet. I'm gonna go look at the lines, or look at the stats, and see if we can make any line changes or adjustments. As you can see here, we are 8 points out of the 3rd spot in the Atlantic Division, and we don't really know from this screen where the wild card is, but I imagine that we're even further away from that. It looks like Brad Marchand's performing pretty well for us, so that's good news. But okay, way down here. Ooh, look at that goals against. 3.39 goals against. I'm going to have to figure out what the problem is there. Is it Rask? Is it our defense? Is it our line combinations? We'll have to find out. That power play, though, 26.3%. So power play's fine. That top line's probably getting it done for us. Penalty kill, 80.7 is not terrible. 2 for 8. Or 2 and 8 in our last 10 is not good. But that 2.7 goals for... I'd like to see it be a little bit higher, but it's serviceable for now. But that goals against is just killing us. So let's check out the individual stats. As you can see, wow, that first line's doing fantastic. Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak, all point a game guys. And they're all in the pluses too. So if we can get those guys 60 minutes a game, we're probably going to be just fine. Second line of Krejci, Simmons, and Backus, all of double digits, and Stafford as well in double digits. But after that, it drops off significantly. Krug with 8 points, but no one else in that third line or fourth line are getting it done for us offensively. But if you look at these minuses, those are atrocious. Double digits for our bottom 6 and for our top defensive pairing. They're all -9 or worse. So we're going to have to tinker with that a little bit. See if we can mix and match, some of their defensive categories. That's just atrocious. I don't know what to think about that. So that's gotta, I don't know. Rask with the 314 GAA and the 901 save. I don't think it's his problem. I don't think it's his fault. Obviously a 90 overall goalie. You know, in playing these franchise modes, I've seen that sometimes there will be seasons where the best goalie in the league has like a 9-10 save percentage, and every goalie is just really bad in the save percentage category. And then the next season, everyone will have at least like a 9.25 save percentage, and I don't know what's going on there. Like there'll be high scoring years and low scoring years. You'll have like one year the top points people, there'll be 5 people with triple digit points, and then the next year the Art Ross will go to a guy that's just barely a point a game. So I don't really know what the problem is there, but we're gonna go look at these lines. I don't really want to throw Bolesky down on the 4th line. He's got that third check-in line role, and don't really want to throw him down because his morale is going to go lower. He's not going to get enough ice time. But at the same time, Stafford and Spooner can't go down either. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to throw Stafford up onto that 2nd line. And maybe we can throw an offensive injection into this 3rd line. Maybe Simmons can get it going beside Spooner and Bolesky, and those guys can get it going as well. I don't know, man. This is looking bad for us. We might do something with Riley Nash here. Might switch him and Bolesky. I don't really know. I don't really know. But yeah, we'll just make that one little minor change, see if it changes anything for us, see if we can catch a hot streak, and I'm going to go ahead and sim the next month of the season. Alright, so that month was not too good for us. We started out really hot. We won 6 of our first 7 games, and then we dropped nearly every game after that, winning one of our last 9. So it's looking like we're going to have to make some moves, try to get some picks and prospects, kind of collapse this team down this first season, and maybe try to compete again next season. We're kind of really far behind right now. I'm going to look at the standings and see exactly how far behind we are. We are 11 points down from 3rd place in our division, being the Ottawa Senators. So that's a really big hole to try to climb out of, and I don't think this team's really equipped to do it right now. As you can see here, wow. So both our goals for went up and our goals against went down from last month, so that's good. Power play at 22, still pretty high, best in our division by far. Penalty kill 81.6 is not bad, but once again 2-8 in our last 10. So if we can avoid those end of month collapses, we could come back, I guess. But as you can see, we've played more games than the rest of the teams in our division. Let's go to the Eastern Conference, see exactly how far we are behind. 8th place is the Pittsburgh Penguins at 42 points. So we're 8 points back, and they have a game in hand. It would take an absolute tear over these next couple months for us to come back. And I'm going to give this team a chance, because I'll go to the All-Star break, see where we're at there, because even after the All-Star break, we still have a whole month to trade away guys. But Marchand Bergeron, 44 and 43 points. Pastrnak, 37 points, also a plus. So that top line is still getting it done for us. And it'd be nice to not waste their fantastic seasons on this abysmal record. But Krejci back as Stafford, up next with all in the 20s. And then Simon and Hayes. Ooh, Hayes with 19 points on the 4th line. We're going to promote Hayes to the 3rd line and see if he can do anything offensively with that 3rd line. And we're going to send down Bolesky, who has 8 points and is a minus 16 on the 3rd line. So, if we can just figure out how to solidify those 3rd and 4th lines next season, I think we could be competitors. But yeah, it's not looking great for us this season. And in the net, Tuukka Rask, 278 GAA, so that went down from 3, and a 910 save, that's up. So he's getting in a groove a little bit, and our top line's in a groove. It's just everything after that, still slightly question marks. So we're going to go ahead and sim up until sim to the next month. Sim just past the All-Star break, I believe. And we're going to see where we're at once again. I'm going to go over to at Washington. Alright, hopefully we're playing a little bit better by the time we come back. Alright, so as you can see, looking at our record, 20, 28, and 5, we are officially calling it a season here. We only won, 5 games that month, and quite a few regulation losses. We are really far behind. It would take an absolute miracle for us to come back from this situation. 12 points back from the Ottawa Senators, and they have at least 1 game in hand. Doing some quick math there. So what we're going to do here, we're going to take a look. I did forget to change Jimmy Hayes in the lines before I simmed that month, but I went ahead and changed it mid-month. And I also threw Charlie McAvoy on that first pairing with Chara. So looking at the stats here, Marchand, Bergeron, Pastrnak did not show up that month. I don't think anyone showed up that month. We all played terrible. You guys suck. We do have 7 guys with double-digit goal scoring, so that's good news. But we're calling it here in terms of trying to compete this season. We're pretty much out of it, so we're going to trade away some guys. We're going to throw some guys on the trade block for this month, and then I'm probably going to call this video at the trade deadline, and we'll start the next video with making some trades. We'll see what kind of offers we get up until that point, though. Goaltending, Rask with 915, so he keeps going up. 265 GAA, that keeps going down. So Tuukka Rask is trending up. We're going to hold on to him. We're going to hold on to all of our main core pieces because I feel like we're just a couple pieces away. I might be delusional based on how bad we were this year, but I feel like we're just a couple pieces away from figuring it out and fighting for a playoff spot. And Frank Vetrano, only 33 points in 45 games. And JFK way on here, only 19 points. So it'd be nice to see them perform a little bit better. Providence is around 500. But, yeah, there they are. One game under 500. So neither teams are going to make the playoffs, more than likely. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the trade block. And we're going to add some guys. Add some guys to our trade block. Add some surplus and some wants. We're going to edit that. So our trade block guys, we have three guys that are three veterans that are mid-80s that are the last year of their deal. Their UFA deal, of course. And we're going to throw the first one, Dennis Seidenberg. He has decent trade value. And next up, I wish I wouldn't reset like that every time. Just give me my age filter back. Simon. And the third guy being Drew Stafford. We could also look to trade Chara. The thing about it, he might retire this year. And I'm not sure if there's a team out there that could take on his $7 million cap hit for this year and next. But these are the three guys that are our priority to trade. If Chara doesn't retire, he'll be big for us next year. He's still gonna have those top 2 minutes and still play that #1 defenseman role. So we're not gonna trade him unless we get just a fantastic offer. And our surplus is gonna be our older guys. So I'm gonna go in here and make age minimum of 30. And we're not going to trade anybody over, or any, excuse me, we're not going to trade anybody over like an 85 overall, with the exception of Zdeno Chara. We'll consider trading Chara for the right deal. If we can get something like a low first round pick out of him, then absolutely sign me up for that. Age 30. Overall of I'm doing this backwards. Oh shit. So we don't have a minimum, but our maximum. Actually, we'll trade any defenseman over 30. I just need to go back and change the forward. So we're not going to trade any forward. Shit, I'm just fucking backwards right now. Our overall, we're not going to trade anybody over the overall of 87. So 87 is going to be our max. That exempts Bergeron, Marchand, and Krejci and Backus. And Pastrnak does not fit the age requirement. We're not going to trade any goalies. And from a pick perspective, we are not trading away our first round pick this year or the next year. Then from a wants perspective, I'm just going to put picks and prospects on there. For forwards, crap, I forgot to remove these assets already. Let's go and remove these three. So this first one we're looking at, we're going to be looking for forwards. Age max is probably going to be something like 23. And the potential needs to be at least that. I think 3.5 star is top 9, medium top 9. Yeah, top 9 potential, and we want at least medium accuracy. We don't care about their overall right now. We just want their prospects. I keep messing up these mins and maxes, man. So defense 23, at least 3.5 star, at least medium accuracy. We are not interested in goalies, but we are interested in these top 2 rounds of picks. Right there. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to sim to the trade deadline. I'm going to make note of any offers that we get. And we're going to see where we stand. It just sucks that we're not contenders. I was kind of hoping that we were going to be, but I just feel like the NHL 17 EA rosters really undervalue the Bruins as they performed this year. So we're going to go to the trade deadline, and I'll catch you guys up when we get there. Alright, so we're back. We're still 8 games under 500. We won a couple games that month. A few shootout wins against the Sharks. Beat the Habs. That's good news for us. They're only 500, so as long as they're bad, that makes us being bad feel a little bit better. So we actually received a couple trade offers for Drew Stafford that month, and oddly enough, they were from the Jets. So in real life NHL season, the Jets traded Drew Stafford to the Bruins at the deadline, and then in our franchise mode, we're probably going to be trading Drew Stafford to the Jets at the trade deadline. And you can see we are 22 points behind Senators for that third spot in the Atlantic. And just going to glance at our player stats a little bit. Everybody's in the negatives now. Torrey Krug minus 26, that's really good. Chara minus 23. Carlo is a 0, so that's good. But we're not good. This season is terrible. Yeah, Rask was our best player. 916 save, 262 GAA. Did the best he could with the hand he was dealt. And so yeah, we're probably gonna. I'm gonna take a look around the league and take a look at our roster, see what guys we can trade, see what we can trade for, and we're going to hopefully make this team better for next year or a few years down the road. You can see our goals for per game utterly atrocious at 249. Goals against just under 3. Power play wasn't bad. Penalty kill wasn't bad. But our even strength play absolutely killed us. So that's going to be it for this video. We're going to look to make some trades at the beginning of the next video. Improve our team for the future. Because this year is down the drain. We're done for. We were awful. So if you liked watching this video, you liked watching the Bruins be terrible in this first season sim, like and subscribe down below. Also leave some comments for me, some constructive criticism, feedback, something you want to see in the series, something you want to see from me. If you want to see me trade for somebody, sign somebody next year, there's going to be anything you want to see me do, just leave feedback. I'll think about it. So if you enjoyed this video, please tune in for the next one.